Alright, welcome back guys. I am Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, and as we continue our discussion about some of the knives that I use when I'm out in the bush practicing both woodcraft, bushcraft, survival type skills, as well as hunting, fishing, and my other activities, I couldn't go much further without bringing up this knife. This is the GNS. GNS stands for Go No Show. This knife is made to just go out and play with, no doubt about it. This was a knife that was built for SRI, which is Self-Reliance Illustrated, a magazine that I wrote an article for, a couple that is, one was published. And it is from the Blind Horse Knives series back before that company became Battle Horse Knives and LT Wright. They just separated the shops. They still work together and all of that, but the company name changed there. But this was a collaboration between all of them, and just an absolutely beautiful all-around outdoor knife. Let me give you a couple of the specs here. It's 9.5 inches in overall length. It has a 4.5 inch blade. It's made of 1/8 of an inch thick 01 tool steel. It has a HRC, or hardness, of between 57 and 61, which is a great hardness to have in 01 tool steel. It is in a saber grind, has a little bit of a secondary bevel at the end. We have a 90-degree spine, and the handle material is a very robust, natural, coated, very nice finished micarta. The handle profile on this knife is just fantastic. I want to get up here to where you can actually see some of the lines of this particular knife here. Now, as you can see, it's not only contoured this way to meet up with your hand lines, the way it wraps in that palm, but also this way, where your fingers can lock into it. See this rounded end here that flexes out? When I first saw this knife, I'll admit, I was a little disappointed, because I thought that this was a total waste and was a characteristic of this handle that I was not going to like. And the reason is, I've had knives like this before, and that actually puts a hot spot on the back of your little finger when you're doing camp type tasks, where you're sitting there doing small repetitive motions over and over and over again. But I could not have been any wronger in that estimate than I was. It just goes to show that to really determine the quality of a knife, you just have to spend some time out in the field and actually use that knife. You can't just always tell by the looks, because this knife, the handle fits my hand the best of any knife that I've ever owned, and I've really grown very fond of its profile. The sheath that it came with is a dangler style sheath, double sewn, typical bushcraft type style, good quality leather with a fire steel loop, which I really like. All I did with this was I did treat the inside with a wax type material. Once it was wet, I put the knife inside of it, and I actually contoured the knife sheath to fit the knife so that it locks in. And the way that I did that is, while that leather was wet, I put it inside of a vacuum sealed bag and put it on my vacuum sealer, and pulled all the air out of it, and it just shrunk right around there and just conformed that knife sheath to that knife very, very well. Makes it a little bit more sturdier, a little bit harder to get out. You do have to pay attention when you put it back in, whenever you conform a sheath like that, but the putting it back in caution is very much worth the effort when you get that extra retention that's in there. The knife being in only 1/8 of an inch thick, and with that high saber grind and that secondary bevel, really makes this knife shine when it comes to its slicing. I like it for not only processing of game and cutting my meats up smaller, but using it as an all-around kitchen style knife around camp, but also when I'm doing fine carving tasks. It's just, if you wanted one knife to use for bushcraft, this one would really shine. The Go No Show name I thought was kind of funny, but that's exactly what it is. It's not made to be pretty, it's made to go out and function very well for you, and that's exactly what it's done for me. I think they hit a home run when they come out with this design, especially in that handle profile. As a matter of fact, I said if they ever came out with this one, just because I'm so fond of the Scandinavian grind, I'd have to have it, and guess what? They did. And I got that, and we'll review that coming up here very shortly. Alright guys, once again, that overall profile and shape of the blade, to where right here is the high point, and to the tip of the blade dropping down, and the back of the handle of this steel tapering down all the way to the center here. Just a fantastic design, and makes for a very functional tool, especially when you're using this knife and you're pressing in with that rounded edge and that center point lining up with the center line of the knife. I just can't say enough good things about this particular blade. So thanks for joining me today. I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, home of global safety and survival. Until next time, God bless.